all, good evening. I hope you're doing well. This evening I have a bunch of Steven Universe minis for you. I know a lot of you seem to really like Steven Universe. I like Steven Universe too. It's one of the few TV shows I follow, partially because it's so easy to follow. It's only 10-minute episodes, and also partially because it's such a good-natured show. It's easy to sit down and watch, and it makes you feel good about people and good about yourself, and it's generally just really sweet and very well written. So I like Steven Universe quite a lot. If you haven't watched Steven Universe, it's a Cartoon Network show, a cartoon show created by Rebecca Sugar, who I think also worked on Adventure Time. It has a little bit of a kind of generosity of spirit to it, and some visual similarities. And it's about a boy called Steven Universe, who lives in Beach City, which is a city by the beach, with his dad, Mr. Universe, who runs a car wash, and the 3 crystal gems, Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst. And the crystal gems they're aliens, really, who lived on the earth they've been there for thousands of years, and they fought a war to keep other gems from destroying Earth, along with their leader, who was called Rose Quartz. And Rose Quartz fell in love with Mr. Universe eventually, long after that war had ended, and they had a son, and that son is Steven. And in the process of giving birth to Steven, or however she had him, it's not really clear, since gems aren't really organic. They're a sentient gemstone, and their bodies are kind of projections created by that gemstone. So how she exactly had Steven is kind of an open-ended question, but in the process of having Steven, she herself gave up existence. She stopped existing. And Steven is half human and half gem, and he has some of the powers of a gem. He has a gem himself. He has his mom's gem. So essentially, he has his mother as part of his body, which is, the show doesn't shy away from everyone being, that's really weird. Everyone in the show acknowledges it's pretty weird that Steven essentially has his mother as part of his body in a lot of ways. And other gems will mistake him for Rose Quartz, because the gem is what defines a gem, not necessarily their body, but their gemstone is what is them. So that's a little weird, but anyway, he has gem powers, and the other crystal gems, that Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, help raise him, so he knows how to deal with those powers. And the show itself is in 10-minute episodes, and it has a continuing story, a plot that develops about Steven learning more about the war between the crystal gems and the other gems who had been trying to destroy Earth, and more about his mom's part in that war, and more about how that war affects his future and what he does about it. And he makes friends, and generally there are episodes that aren't plot episodes, that are just kind of, him having adventures. But it actually has a fairly complicated, a fairly sophisticated plot that goes forward, and it's fun to watch. It deals a lot with how to have healthy relationships, and it doesn't steer away, it doesn't avoid the fact that relationships can become toxic, and even if you mean well, and it looks at how you can get out of bad relationships and make relationships better, and it's really nice. It's also very queer, because the gems are all essentially women. They're also aliens, but all gems look like they look female. They look like women. They present that way. And Rose Quartz was loved by Pearl, one of the gems, and it's very clear that it's a romantic love. And one of the main characters also really embodies romantic love between women. It's all very sweet, very sweet. And if you are queer, and if you're a woman who loves other women, or somebody non-binary who loves other non-binary people, or any combination that's a little on the queer side, you'll probably find the love stories really, really, really sweet. They've occasionally made me tear up and cry, because they're so sweet. And so realistic, too. They really the people in the relationships, even if they're aliens, act like people in relationships really do. So that's Steven Universe in a nutshell. It's a fairly new show. It's not done yet. It's in its 5th season, and I think this is going to be its last season, if I remember right. Certainly the story is at a point where it seems like very soon it will have to end, because it's reaching its climax, where I think all the big revelations will come out. But I have a bunch of Steven Universe things already. You've seen me unbox, in some of my other videos, I've unboxed Steven Universe minifigures from Funko, and from, let's see, I've done Legos too. Well, essentially Legos. They're McFarlane Toys does brick sets for Steven Universe. And I have my own personal collection of things that you've not seen me unbox, which include Funko figures, big Funko figures, some of the pint-sized Funko figures, and some of these little guys too. So I have a bunch of other Steven Universe stuff. But these were on sale because they're pretty old. They've been out, I think, for years now. And there was somewhere getting rid of them on clearance. And they were a really good deal, so I picked up a few. I have one already. I have Garnet. One of Garnet. But, so I don't know what these are going to be. I have 4, so chances are I'll have some extras. But we'll see what we get, huh? So I'm going to open all 4 of these for you right now. I'm going to put them all to the side. And then open one by one. Maybe all to the side. We'll see if I can get them far enough out. So this one, these are not by Funko. They look like Funko, but they're by a different group. Original Minis, it says. Zag Toys. So I guess this has been out. They've only been out for like a year. It says these came out in 2016. So it says there are 8 in the series, and this is series 1. Now, a lot of these toy series, they'll come out with series 1, but they will never come out with a series 2. I guess it's just to cover in case they do come out with a new series. Let's see which are in the series. You can see here that we have, let's see if it'll focus for us. I've got it on autofocus, but it's not as good. Most of this series of toys came out fairly early, a little bit before some of the revelations that would bring in other characters. So it doesn't have a lot of the newer characters, but it does have the core characters. You can see it has Steven in 2 versions. Up here is Steven just smiling. He looks funny as a 3-dimensional figure. He looks much better in the cartoon. I never really liked the Steven figures because he just doesn't translate that well into 3 dimensions. And then you have Steven down here. All gems can summon a weapon from their gem. Can pull a weapon from their gem. And Steven can summon a shield. His powers are defensive. So he has a shield there. He's battle ready, it says. There's Peridot. Peridot is a gem who joins the cast a little later in the series. Here's Garnet. Garnet is very stoic and very competent. I'm kind of uncomfortable talking a lot. She's very taciturn. Taciturn? That's a word you don't say out loud very often. And here's Garnet. She's looking a little goofier down here. I think she has, her weapons are gloves. She summons a big kind of, almost like a boxing glove on each fist. So here she has her gloves summoned, and here she doesn't. This is Amethyst. Amethyst is essentially, she's the youngest of the crystal gems. In a lot of ways, she acts kind of like Steven's peer, more like Steven's peer than like a parent, whereas the other crystal gems act more like they're kind of like moms, parents. And she likes to misbehave and to break rules and to be kind of a slob and kind of goofy. And here on the side, we have Pearl. Pearl is also a crystal gem. She has her gemstone on her forehead. You can see it there. And she's very much a mom. She worries about Steven all the time. She's always really anxious about getting everything right, about him being safe. She's also a duelist. She fights with a sword, and she's clearly influenced by revolutionary girl Utena. If you've ever watched Utena, it's a series, anime series that is famous for being very much about girls' love. It's a very female love story, though not explicit. Explicit in some versions, but not explicit in its main version. And in it, the main character is a duelist. She has to fight magical duels all the time to protect her princess. So Pearl's fighting style, her dueling style, and her costume are very influenced by Utena. And who else have we got? We've got Connie. Connie is a human. Connie is Steven's age, and she's Steven's friend. She helps him, too, in his adventures, and she learns to be a duelist, to fight with a sword defense from Pearl. And she goes from being kind of bookish, she's got her glasses here, to pretty much, a badass, but also still a bookish badass, so that's awesome. So those are the characters. I don't remember which ones are rare and which ones aren't. I know that some are and some aren't. I think, actually, the garnet I got with gloves is one of the rarer ones. But let's open this one up and see. Steven. Let's see if it will focus for you. Steven is the main character of the series. Like I said, I believe he starts the series as a 12-year-old, and is probably about 14 by the point in the series we're at now. Steven always wears this t-shirt. He doesn't seem to have any other clothes. He only wears this particular t-shirt with a star. And he wears flip-flops. These are pink flip-flops. And jeans that go down to his flip-flops. He has this kind of puffy hair. It's all blobby. And he's pretty much always, he's very naive and he always tries to help people. He always hopes for the best in people and thinks that if he just works hard enough and listens and talks to people enough, they'll come around to being friends or to getting along. And as the series goes along, he kind of learns that that doesn't always work, and that sometimes bad things happen, and he can't always feel responsible for all of it. It's not his fault that things don't always go right. And he has to make a lot of tough decisions as time goes on. He's kind of a little irritating at the beginning of the series. I know a lot of people watch the first few episodes and are like, he's all spoiled and he messes things up. And I think the series is just going to be, let him continue to be spoiled and mess things up. And it doesn't. I was pleased that it makes him grow. He grows and he learns that he has to listen to other people's ways of doing things and draw on other people's skills, and that he can't carry the world on his shoulders. And that things aren't always as significant as they seem. But he also has to make a lot of tough decisions for a 12 to 14-year-old. So that's Steven. He comes with a little stick that goes in his back here. But maybe. Maybe. Gonna wedge it in there. And a stand that says Steven Universe on it. And he just goes right in there. And then you have Steven on a stand. Steven Universe. Like I said, Steven looks much better, in my opinion, as a cartoon character than three-dimensional. He's one of the characters in the series that translates to 3 dimensions least effectively. Because he's very rounded and kind of almost potato-like, and very flexible, broad features in the cartoon. He does a lot of making goofy faces and things, and it just doesn't come across in plastic in 3 dimensions. But a few of the toys I have with him, it works. This one's alright. It's not bad. It looks a little goofy. I'm gonna put him. Where are we gonna put him? That's kind of scary looking. Alright. Let's get the next one. Now again, we're probably gonna get some doubles for these. Because it's all random. And I don't know what the chances are for these. The one chances are. got here? Now, I think we have Amethyst this time. Now, Amethyst is another character who grew on me as the series went along. And I think she's meant to. At first, she seems very immature and crude and deliberately kind of bratty. Like she deliberately tries to provoke people. And as the series goes on, it tells you learn more about her and about why she's like that. She's actually very young for a gem. She's younger than the crystal gems, the other two, Pearl and Garnet, by probably at least 1,000 years, several hundred at least. They're essentially immortal gems. Unless they're killed, they just live on, and they can be hurt a lot physically and recover from it. So she's very young, and she actually doesn't remember and wasn't there for a lot of the things that were extremely important to the other crystal gems, the things that Pearl and Garnet both remember and that bring them together as a unit, as friends and as comrades who've gone through a lot together. Amethyst, she missed a lot of that. She's missing a lot culturally, too. She never really knew a lot about gem culture because she's been on Earth all of her life. So being younger and kind of being isolated like that and often feeling left out and ignorant means that she kind of acts out sometimes because she just doesn't feel like she matters as much as the others. She feels like a kid, kind of, and she feels that ignorance that she has. So here she is, she's holding her whip. Her weapon, the weapon she can summon from her gem, is a whip, a purple whip. She always wears this, like a black kind of bodysuit with leggings that have stars on them. Her costume changes a little bit as the series goes on, but not so much that it ever really becomes unrecognizable. She has long purple hair that's kind of fluffy, and she's purple all over. They didn't mold her gem in, but it's kind of down here on her bosom, right between her boobs. That's where her gem is. Peeks out over the top of her shirt usually. And she's very short. She's short and round. She's the shortest of the crystal gems. I think she's about Stephen's height. So that's Amethyst. And obviously gems are named after their gems and the color they are. Not really the color they are. Well, kind of. It depends on the gem. But definitely they're named after their gems. So you have names like Peridot and Garnet and Ruby and Sapphire and Lapis Lazuli, Pearl, Rose Quartz. And then you have Stephen, who is a Stephen. Since he's half gem, he's not a Rose Quartz. So I've got to put her little stand in. I've got to put her on her stand. And you have a little bitty amethyst. Now I actually, for the amethyst, my favorite of the amethyst figures I have quite a few, is the Funko Pop for her. She's actually really well suited to a Funko Pop. She's kind of a thick-set character, so she really matches that whole kind of squat figure of the Funko Pop figures already. So definitely she's my favorite of the Steven Universe Funko Pops. And that's probably my favorite sculpt of her I've seen. But Amethyst is cool. She has her backstory. Gives her a lot more in common with Steven. And helps you understand her a lot better. Oop, she's falling over. I think so you can clip their stands together. So like, yeah. I can set it up so they all interlock. Which is kind of funny. So if I wanted to, I could just line them all up. Like this. Oop, there we go. Looks a little weird. Just hanging out. Alright, here we have the third one. And I finally discovered they actually have a little thing you can just pull on. So let's see if we get any doubles. Whoop, no we didn't. Good. We're doing well so far. Alright, so we have another character here. And this is a character, I actually don't have many of her figures yet. Because they don't make that much merchandise for her. Which is too bad because she's cool. This is Connie. Now Connie is Steven's best friend in Beach City. Steven doesn't go to school like a normal kid. He's really taught by his gem parents and by his dad, Mr. Universe. So he has friends, a lot of friends, but he doesn't have like the normal kind of school friends that a kid would have. So eventually though, he meets Connie. And Connie lives in Beach City. And she's very bookish. She's kind of a big fan of, not exactly like Harry Potter because they can't reference that series in this series, of course. Copyright, I'm sure, would have a fit. But essentially of series that are like very Harry Potter and that kind of thing. So she's bookish and a geek. And her parents put a lot of pressure on her. But not too much. And then she meets Steven and they end up being friends. And she ends up, you know, kind of coming out of her shell, and Pearl teaches her to duel, so she and Steven often actually fight together to battle monsters and help save the world. And she's very, you know, she's responsible, she's conscientious, she really likes Steven, and their relationship has grown to the point where now that they're both 14, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be a romance. That they're really well suited for each other and that they're extremely good friends. Connie she's not entirely a foil for Steven because Steven is, but a little bit. Steven is very naive and often gullible and really sappy. And Connie kind of likes that in him because she's not that way entirely herself. This version of Connie has her glasses. Connie, early in the series, needs glasses to see. Later in the series, something happens that means she doesn't have to wear glasses anymore. So this is early in the series, Connie. She's wearing a kind of an aqua dress with a blue belt and these red boots that she wears. So she doesn't have her sword here. Later she carries a sword a lot of the time. So that's Connie. I'm always happy to get Connie because she's kind of, there's a Funko figure of her and it's alright. It's not great. It doesn't really capture much of her personality. And there's a pint-sized Funko figure, but this is actually not a bad little figure for her. So I'm going to put her on her stand, and then I guess we're going to hook her up with these others here. I don't quite know what kind of shape you'd get out of these if you line them all up. Eventually. keep twisting them all around to get him face in front, too. But Connie's cool. And she's kind of nice for Steven to have around, too, because aside from his dad, who's human, he has to spend a lot of time dealing with some pretty serious, wacky alien hijinks. So having other human beings around is good for him. This is the last one. Oh, we got Steven again. So we did get one double. Now I have friends who like Steven Universe, so I will give my second Steven here to someone I know who I'm sure will like it. Or I may just be silly and leave it at, a bus station or a train station to see what people think. Yeah. So again, this is Steven again. We have all the Stevens. We didn't get the alternate one, so we just got another one of the exact same one. And if he had the alternate one, the one with the shield, you can see if he pulls his shirt up a little bit, where his navel would be, he has his mom's gem instead. He has a pink rose quartz right there where his navel would be. And that's his gem. And when he summons a weapon, he pulls a shield from his gem. A big pink shield with kind of a swirly design on it. It's kind of transparent and it has a blue rim. And he can use that, and he usually uses it when he fights together with Connie. Connie wields a sword so she can attack, and he has his shield so he can defend. And he has other powers that he can use to do things like make a defensive bubble around him and people around him. He can float a little bit. He has some healing powers. But they're all powers he discovers as time goes on. And I don't have all of the crystal gems, I just have Amethyst here. But he lives with Pearl and Garnet and Amethyst, and they fight crime together, essentially. They protect the Earth from threats, and learn about the history of the gems, and learn about what the rest of the gems who want to try to take over Earth, are doing out in the universe, and what they need to do to continue protecting the Earth. So that's Steven from Steven Universe. Little guy. I've got two of him, which I feel like there have been episodes that I've had multiple Stevens, so this is not completely uncanonical. There's one with time travel. You know how it is with time travel. You get more than one of you wandering around. Anyway, so I'll clip second Steven to the design here. So that's our 4 figures. We didn't get lucky enough to get all non-duplicates, but that's okay because I got them at a good enough price that it does not break my heart to have one that is a duplicate. And I already have a Garnet as well. Let me bring Garnet over. Here we go. Let's show you Garnet. Here's Garnet. Garnet, I actually really like this little figure of her because usually Garnet looks very stoic and very straight-faced and stern. But in this one, she's looking a little goofy, which when she's jazzed up and fighting, she can get quite happy. So she's looking pretty happy here with her smile. And like I said, her weapons are her gloves. You can see she's wearing gloves with stars on them. Usually she doesn't have those. Those are the weapons she summons. The weapons she summons when she fights. Her gems, she has 2. One's on this hand in the palm and the other is in the other palm. So she's one on each hand, one on each palm. She's very tall. She's the tallest of the gems. She's taller than a human being. She has these glasses, kind of a visor she wears all the time, because she actually has 3 eyes. One eye, 2 eye, 3 eye. I believe one's red, one's blue, and one's purple, if I remember right. I know they're different colors. She kind of has this afro thing, this like square afro thing going on. And it wears a bodysuit that is a combination of colors. It kind of has a starish kind of motif on it as well. But Garnet is definitely, she's the most competent, most stable seeming one of the core gems. She's the one they all rely on. And this show's good about the fact that actually they talk about the toll it takes on her to be seen as the one that the others can always rely on to keep a cool head, to not panic, to, you know, be able to protect people when they need protecting. But yeah, she's also a little goofy and not very good at being on the spot socially. She has spoilers in her backstory that are extremely sweet, and that I think most people who like the show, it's Garnet and her backstory, that really convinced people that it was going to be a really good show, because it comes out in the first season, late in the first season if I remember right, and it got a lot of buzz, the reveal on the backstory of her character, and it really made a lot of people really happy, self-included. And I recommend, if you try the series, sticking with it at least until you get to her spoiler. And if it doesn't make you happy and it doesn't make you want to stick with the show, then the show's probably not for you. But if it does make you happy, then you should probably stick with the show, because there's a lot more cute where that comes from. A lot more cute. So that's Garnet. So that means we have all of the crystal gems except Pearl, who is the one who's she's kind of has an aesthetic that's almost like a dancer, a ballerina. And she's our, what would you call it? Our duelist. And our the nervous one of the crystal gems, the one who always worries about Steven's safety, about whether he'll be alright, about whether they're raising him right, about whether they should take risks. So she's the nervous mom. She's very, very mom-like. Probably the most parental of the gems. Now I'm gonna show you these guys from the front here. So there you go. There are our crystal gems there. So you've got 2 Stevens, Connie, Amethyst, and Garnet. That's a pretty good set for a random draw to only have the one duplicate. Since it's a fairly small series, it's only a few figures in it, not a ton, like some of the Mystery Minis figures have a ton of different figures. This one only has a few. So it's a pretty good draw. Again, if you haven't watched Steven Universe, it's a very sweet show. And it has some moments that will make you cry. It has some moments that will make you really, really happy, because they're very sweet and very affirmative. It's a really nice show to watch if you're a woman who loves other women, or if you're generally, you know, if you're feminine presenting in any way and like other feminine presenting women. It's also a great show to watch if you like seeing a lot of feminine presenting characters with a lot of different body types. There are very short women, there are short figures and round figures and tall figures and flat-chested figures and very buff figures who are very physical and kind of there are ones who are wayfish. There's a lot of variety. It's really nice that way. I really appreciate that. The art design does for some people take a little getting used to, and it varies a bit over the series, but it really comes into its own, and it really fits the show. So even if you think at first it looks goofy visually, give it a try. See what you think as it goes along. But again, this was unboxing 4 Steven Universe minifigures from just a series that's called Steven Universe Original Minis. It's not a very creative name, but there you go. And these are those minis. These are all of the minis I have, and I hope you've enjoyed watching me unbox them. I hope you enjoy your evening, or your day, or your morning, or whatever you're having, and that you have a great time just being yourself and relaxing and grounding and finding your own way in life, that you find your peace for the day. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for being who you are, and have a great day or evening or afternoon. Good night.